of course, this is actually where we're going to start. Well, the RCMP are looking to combat white extremism online with undercover officers. So that's going to be super great. I can't wait to see them in our chat, in the Canada Poly chat. It'll be super fun. See if you can spot them, right? Like, holy cow. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Sudden and unexpected drones armed with handguns are now being deployed by law enforcement in initial phase. Expect these soon in megacities. So there's a picture. It looks like it's real life. It doesn't look like it's a Photoshop picture or anything like that. It looks legit to me. And it's got a drone like you'd see at Costco. You can buy these drones, and these things come with like glasses, and then you can see what the drone sees and you can fly around and stuff, right? So it's kind of cool. And it's got a gun on its head. So I told you when these things started, you can't have a drone. The first thing they're going to do, it's like, oh, look at that robot that I can move around with the remote control. You put a gun on its head? Yeah, sure we can, Elon, right? Like, can't wait till you get your robot butler. Where did they put the gun on its head? It's in its mouth, right? Or if you're a fembot, breasts, but whatever, whichever model you want. Let's move on. Let's talk about freedom of speech in Canada and where law enforcement is focusing on right now. The C3RF says RCMP are looking to gear up to combat white extremism online. Meanwhile, the pro-Hamas supporters shoot up synagogues and schools. Maybe those advising the RCMP need to be investigated. Yeah, I think possibly that's it's a little bit weird when you look at who's committing all the crimes, that they're saying, hey, it's these white people that are doing things that we need to look about, and we need to lie in order to infiltrate their ranks. Weird. CBC News is reporting the RCMP is planning to conduct undercover surveillance online using fake personas to investigate ideological extremists in Canada, says an internal strategy document. Like, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And in the United States, this doesn't work. They have to get entire, like, groups of CIA guys who get tiki torches and wear like golf shirts and stuff. And it's more like an SNL skit. It doesn't actually look convincing. Like, oh no, look at all of those evil white guys. Like, here's an interesting juxtaposition in the thread. We're going to talk about this later because it does bear mentioning and bear talking about. But Frozen Bell says, you mean this kind of ideological extremism? Canadians demonstrating in favor of free speech and liberty is hardly extreme, but violent attacks by terrorists like thugs with foreign agendas certainly fits the bill of extremism. And Mr. Sheena is highlighting this. Shocking news coming from Canada. Hindu devotees offering prayers at a temple in Brampton were attacked and beaten by Khalistani terrorists. This is state-sponsored terrorism, and Justin Trudeau is directly responsible for it. And from what I understand, is Hindus who are defending themselves from people who are aggressors were arrested for stepping on the Khalistani flags, and I think that's probably editorialized from the tweet that I saw, but it's crazy. Like, it seems like what happened is there were Hindu people who were praying at a temple, and they were attacked by Khalistani Sikhs, and the Hindu guys got arrested. And so that's crazy, right? And so the CBC and the RCMP, obviously the most important threat to Canada right now is white people. RCMP plans to go undercover online to trap violent extremists. They're not violent. Jeepers creepers. The RCMP is planning to conduct undercover surveillance online using fake personas to investigate ideological extremists in Canada, says an internal strategy document. They're already doing this, by the way. Like, they are already doing this. It's already happening. Experts in ideologically motivated violent extremism, which is something that they made up in order to target domestic people who are saying things they don't like and who are disagreeing with the government openly, basically. Say the strategy is overdue at a time when online extremism threatens to spill over into real-world violence. That's absolute nonsense. They warn that extremist activity in Canada could increase. Oh my gosh, it could increase in the wake of the U.S. election, regardless of who becomes the next president. Civil liberties advocates say they fear that having officers carry out undercover investigations online using fake personas could violate charter rights or lead people to take actions they otherwise might not take. It's been documented. There was a kidnapping plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer in Michigan, and 4 of the 5 people involved in the plot were FBI agents, and they were entrapping this guy who kind of was just a patsy. They were like, oh yeah, he's a Trump supporter, right-wing extremist, let's get him. And I think he was even a little slow. Like, I think that he was not fully mentally there. Maybe he was fully mentally competent, but I don't know that he's the sharpest tool in the shed, right? And so taking advantage of somebody like that and leading them down the garden path, isn't that entrapment? It's a dangerous idea, and I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's going to help anybody with the extremism that we're experiencing in Canada. All it's going to do is enable the RCMP to threaten people who speak out online about things they don't like in Canada that are happening. They point out that the RCMP ran afoul of Canada's Privacy Commissioner earlier this year with other online investigative activities. They're also calling for guardrails, to cover undercover online surveillance. The internal strategy document, I mean, can they like just decide to follow people online and say, oh, this is concerning, right? Like, it seems if somebody's trying to organize something that is violent or something to that effect online, then that's probably not a good place to organize it, number one. And two, if you're breaking the law, like if you're trying to organize something that is inherently violent and breaking the law, then the police should crack down on you and like come and arrest you and all the rest of that, right? And so, but it doesn't seem like that's what's happening. It seems like the people online are trying to solve problems one way, and I haven't seen good evidence that online discord on social media and things like that leads to violence like they say it does. I haven't seen good evidence of that. But they're different groups of people, like the people who are praying at the Hindus temples and the people who are out doing freedom rallies and things like that, different groups for different reasons. And like, they're different than people online. And just saying, oh, well, extremism lives online and, can breed real life actions. It's a bullshit excuse to crack down on speech online, basically. It's a justification and nothing more. Natasha Montreal says, Canada has Khalistani Hindu clashes, Khalistani crime syndicates, pro-Hamas on our streets, Iranian, Chinese, Khalistani, and Russian interference at the highest institutional levels, Eritrean riots. And the CB says, here's a photo of white Canadians to illustrate ideological extremism. Clown world, right? So like, yeah, I don't think that they're really understanding what's going on here, or the propaganda media is paid to mislead you. And I think that's maybe what it is. Let's talk about the BC elections very, very quickly. The Remanded says, here's 4 media broadcasters stating JDFM has 24 ballot boxes. 3 of 4 are changing the total mid-broadcast from 23 to 24. So here's CTV, and you can see up in the top right here that it says 23 ballot boxes. And then during the broadcast, it changes to 24. And now it's a 24. See? And then here is, again, 23 of 24 polls reporting. And then this one changes. I'm not sure where this one changes. This one changes here. This is Global News. 23 and then 24. See? And then there's one last one as well. 23. You can't see that because I'm in the way. I'll move out of the way. Here's 23. And then 24. Okay. So where's that extra ballot box coming from? And he says, hope everyone's able to keep up. And then here's a little bit more. He says, we're looking at the 24 ballot boxes. The boxes were checked the next day without moving the totals forward. There were 61 votes in 2 boxes. Each riding is different. Also, when adding up the mail-in to the October 21st initial count, final 90 ridings are not adding up. I think the JDFM didn't see an increase due to the recount call. I'll have to look at a thing or two and check though. So make that 5 media outlets, he says, changing from 23 to 24. So it's very interesting. The same account is making this announcement as well. I've just sent a letter to Elections BC to request for a judicial recount. Recount for Wanda Fucha Malat. It looks like Surrey Judicial Review reports they have found an unopened ballot box. So how does that happen? Like, how does that happen? How do you go this long after the election and they just found an unopened ballot box? Here's Boris. He says, with a judicial review of Surrey Guildford riding imminent, NDP sources say Premier Eby, NDP inner circle are alarmed and panicked by Surrey Guildford NDP lead. adjudicator Bruce Ralston reports that Election BC has found an unopened ballot box with an undetermined number of ballots in it. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know what's going to happen, and probably like not what should happen. But it seems like more and more of these elections seem suspect, and I don't know why anybody believes them. And we're going to have to live with the consequences of these stolen elections. So buckle up, right? It doesn't look like the U.S. election is going to be an ABC, Trump wins cleanly, like let's get on with the business of making America great and healthy again, right? Like I'd love for it to be like that, but it seems like it's going to be a little bit more difficult than that. Bob Ray is weighing in, and he's reminding you to change your clocks back for the weekend, but it seems like he's dabbling in foreign interference. Let me know what you think. If you think this is secretly communicating his preference, I think it is. Here we go. He says, don't forget to turn your clocks back, but just an hour, not like years or decades. Right? Is that a sly kind of dig on Trump? It seems like it, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just overly sensitive. It took me longer than I admit to realize what this was. This is a Trump signal in the sky. This is like a Batman signal, but it's a Trump signal. And so it's got Trump's, like the Alfred Hitchcock, what's it called? Shadow. That's not the right word. Profile, I guess. And it's got the iconic hair, right? And the Trump kind of lips pursed and the tie and the suit and everything. So there's Donald Trump in the sky, and it says spotted above LA. So that's interesting, right? So they're calling to Donald Trump. And Autism Capital says NBC allowed Donald Trump to air a 90-second advertisement per the FCC regulations. They were mandated to provide time to Trump equal to what Kamala Harris received on SNL due to election laws. This segment aired during tonight's NASCAR post-race show. Get out and vote. So this is valuable TV space. Like this is Super Bowl ad level, right? And Kamala Harris got SNL, and he chose NASCAR, right? So yeah, he's going to get out the vote. Here is, and sure, he's maybe talking to his supporters, but the point now is, he's made the case. He's doing everything he can to get people out of their chairs and going to vote. And people are going to be waiting in long lines. I guarantee you they're going to understaff these polls. They're going to make it long lines. It's going to be a 5-hour ordeal or more. I hope I'm wrong. Here's Trump's message at NASCAR.
Hello to our great sports fans, and I hope you're having a fantastic time. We're 2 days away from the most important election in the history of our country. We've got to save our country, and it needs saving. It's in very bad shape. The worst economic numbers in generations were just announced 2 days ago. We're losing jobs. We're losing everything, including viability. We're going to end up in a depression based on what's been happening. We've never seen anything like it, at least for the last 40 years. We have to straighten out our country. We have to close our borders. We have to lower our taxes. We have to get rid of inflation, and we're going to do it. Just remember, Kamala and her friends broke it. I'll fix it. Most important election in the history of our country. Go and vote.
There you go. Talking directly to voters, right? So I don't like the music in the background, but he was able, I could hear him. So that's better than some of them, because sometimes all you can hear is the music, right? Anna says, oh, look, the trusted voting machines are malfunctioning again. Are Americans getting sick of this yet? True the Vote says Maryland reports citizens' votes were switched from Donald Trump to RFK Jr. when she brought it to the attention of the election judge. When she brought it to the attention of the election judge, she was reprimanded for capturing proof. Resolve, if this happens to you, immediately file a complaint in MD, file at elections, blah, blah, blah. Link. The voting malfunction must be resolved by the local election administration. You only have one vote. Defend it. So that's more than most people are able to do. Let's move on to our grab bag of governance. And Holly Doan is talking about cabinet aides confirm the NDP and Liberals attended secret meetings to rewrite the Elections Act. One revision guarantees pensions for dozens of MPs. Few records were kept, and Alan Sutherland, Assistant Cabinet Secretary, is quoted as the source for that. And Shemaiah says, here's the thing, Holly, aside from being inbred trailer park dwelling Albertans, exactly who do you think will believe your bullshit? So skepticism is thrown Holly Doan's way. An unflappable Holly Doan says, who would believe it? Well, every MP who would benefit or now qualifies for a pension under the revised Bill C-65. Here's the list of those people, because very few records were kept, but there is a list, and there probably is a list of Chinese traders too. I wonder if there's crossover. Anyway, here's the list. Records show 3 cabinet members would automatically qualify for pensions under the revised act: Treasury Board President Anita Anand, Environment Minister Galbo, and Tourism Minister Martinez Ferreira, and another 25 Liberals and New Democrat NDPs would also benefit from the bill. Jacinda Atwin, Taylor Barack, Evan Baker, Jamie Batiste. This is like a nightmare for me. Rachel Bendon, Cody Boyce, Elizabeth Beer, Laurel Collins, that nailed it. Han Dong. Oh man, like really? Leah Gazin, Matthew Green. Oh, he's terrible too. Helena Jazik, Eric. I'm just going to say Eric K. Marie-France Lalonde, Patrice Latianzo, Tim Lewis, Lindsay Matheson, Heather McPherson, Marcus Pawlowski, Mandelier Sidhu, Ryan Turnbull, Tony Van Bine, Adam Van Kay, Patrick Wheeler, and Samir Zubiri. So there you go. There's all the people who have a vested interest in Bill C-65. What do you think? Do you think that if a week is the difference and they lose their seat, do you think that people should say, no, you don't get access to that, it's a week too short? Or do you think like it's just a week, like what's the difference really, right? And the difference is like a lot of money, right? But they've done a lot of work, they say. So what do you think? I don't know. On one hand, I think like, yeah, cut them off. But on the other hand, for the sake of a week to miss out on a pension that everybody else is going to get, I think the better solution probably would be wind down the pension totally for everybody, right? Like it seems petty. It seems petty for over a week to cut these people out, right? Like everybody else is going to get their pension, so on and so forth. And we could say, yeah, they don't deserve it. And they don't deserve it. They don't deserve a pension because they're traitors to the friggin' country. They deserve jail. But were I in that situation, probably I would see it differently, right? And people who support the liberals would see it differently. And so I think that it's interesting. And I think that in order for fairness and for like common sense, you probably phase out the gold-plated pensions that these people get. And I mean, let them invest in their future. I'm not saying cut them off at the knees. Give them something that's comparable to, well, you should probably wind back the pensions and things like that given to the public sector as well, right? But I digress. Give them something that's comparable to private sector compensation for the time worked, right? But it seems like the gold-plated pensions, and then ever whittling away what it takes to qualify for those pensions seems like taking advantage of the Canadian citizens, and I don't like that. So I think in order to wind it back, you don't punish these guys, you turn it off for everybody, right? And you should really arrest traitors. Jamie says apparently the fake CTV News says there are thousands protesting trans rights, but the fake news reporters at Global Edmonton say it's only hundreds. These liars can't get their story straight or account a group of people. Why would we ever allow the media to have any involvement in our elections if they can't count a small fringe minority? And so it's interesting, right? It's just I think that the difference is meant to add to the cognitive dissonance. Like if you read hundreds and then you read thousands or hear somebody talking about thousands, you're like, wait a second, I heard something different. And I like from a trusted source, like, what are you talking about? And so the government talking about, sorry, I'm scratching my nose. The government talking about misinformation all the time and then engaging in this like different reporting all the time in order to say, see, we told you so. It seems like it's all part and parcel of the plan to keep people disoriented and confused. And I don't like it. I think that we're being manipulated at a level that is hard to see and even harder to believe if somebody does see it and say, no, like this is actually what they're doing. Somebody that I know well was telling me about a friend of theirs on Facebook, and the friend posted a poppy. But it wasn't just like a poppy. It was a poppy. Oh, I forgot my poppy today. It was a poppy with a rainbow attached. And the friend was like, this is not okay. And they were telling me how the friend was upset about this and so on and so forth. And she was also disgusted. And I said, well, the Rainbow Crew is like communist. And she's like, oh, yeah, gay people, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, not gay people. Gay people are different. The Rainbow Crew is different than the gay people. Gay people are one set of people. And the communist Rainbow Guard is using gay people as a shield. But communist groups now are using the rainbow to signify dominance or being taken over by the Rainbow Crew. And so, like, Remembrance Day, that's also been taken over by the Rainbow Crew. School's been taken over by the Rainbow Crew. All of these things, it's a show of dominance. And I was trying to explain this, and it's funny how having peers of their own age say these things and then have it reinforced changes people's outlook, because a year ago it would have been a non-starter, right? But now it's like, maybe there's something to that. Here, just a reminder, is what they do. The speakers or the people who are involved in this whole scam, who have taken over our government, the traitors, when they get called out, they use the power of the government, or the speaker's chair in this case, to shut down anybody calling them out. And can you hear the allegation in the question here? And the allegation in question is clear as a bell. And the speaker says, oh man, I can't, the video is really bad and the audio is really bad. I can't even hear you right now. We're breaking up. Right? It's bullshit. So here's this bullshit dodge from a couple of years ago. Like, this is from COVID. I can't remember when this was. I can't remember the date of this, but I think it was like early 21, or maybe even late 20. Anyway, here we go. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it was late 21. Here we go.
I had a constituent that wanted me to ask a question about outside interference to our democracy. Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, and he bragged how his subversive WEF, World Economic Forum, has, quoted, infiltrated governments around the world. He said that his organization had penetrated more than half of Canada's cabinet. And I was wondering, in the interest of transparency, could the member please name which cabinet ministers are on board with the WEF's agenda? My concern is the deputy.
Order. I know that the member was in a really good question there, but the audio is really bad, and the video is really bad as well. And I apologize. I don't know if the member. Okay, let's try again. The honourable member for Timmins James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, that member was promoting open disinformation. That's not debate. We have to call out disinformation.
We'll get into debate again. The honourable member, questions and comments. The honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Move on, right? And nonsense. What utter nonsense. I could hear him. I could hear the question. I understood the intent, and it bears a response. And he said, oh, we're not going to get into debate. Next question. We'll see you later. The food professor is weighing in as well. Grab bag of governance, remember? And he says, what more Canadians don't realize is the power of the dairy farms. Not only do they have the dairy farmers in Canada, not only do they have more political staffers and lawyers than the Prime Minister's office, they also spend twice as much as Loblaws on advertising. The sector is a monster. There was a story, and I can't remember what the details of this was, but it was talking about how the cost to put the word milk on the jersey, like the Toronto Maple Leafs jerseys, is astronomical, but they do all of this advertising for a reason. It's very nefarious too. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can find it. So here's one article from Editor-in-Leaf, and it's funny actually. The controversy is not what I remembered, but regardless, this is, I don't know when this is from. This is September 2022, and I think I was looking the other day, and their jerseys still have milk on it. But it says the Toronto Maple Leafs have chosen to go with the Ontario Dairy Farmers milk logo as the jersey patch partner. This season will be the first to feature ads on NHL jerseys as a means to collect more revenue. Yeah, because the NHL is really struggling, right? And all that not kneeling for the national anthem. Last season, we saw the introduction of ads on the NHL helmets. The Toronto Maple Leafs went with TikTok as their helmet ad partner. Where can I get an ad partner? I need a helmet ad partner for Mark. I don't wear a helmet, thank goodness. Many fans are frustrated by the addition of these ads. Ads on helmets are one thing, but many fans support the Toronto Maple Leafs and other NHL teams by buying replica jerseys. Fans want their jerseys to be as close as possible to the real thing, but don't necessarily want to support the company's advertisers on the patch. However, what bothers me most about these jerseys ads is that the company chosen by the Toronto Maple Leafs, the dairy industry, is terrible and controversial industry that is detrimental to animal welfare, our environment, and our health. So this guy's rabidly anti-milk. And as a pro-milk person, I was like, what? Okay. I don't like the dairy cartel. I think the dairy cartel is counterproductive to actually having a good dairy market. And I think we could have cheap milk that is great for you. And Like there's no reason not to. We dump 10 billion liters of milk. Like if you put 10 billion liters of milk into the milk economy, think of the price reduction of the regular milk. Anyway, for decades, the dairy industry, according to this guy, has been misleading the public with ads convincing us that milk does a body good when it may do the opposite. Milk and other dairy products contain sugar, cholesterol, and hormones and are possibly not as healthy as we've been led to believe. I wonder if this guy would drink raw milk. Probably not. Sure, the milk commercial tells you that the milk contains calcium and protein, but that's like saying soda pop is healthy because it contains water. Okay, I think we'll carry on here. The milk is good for you, and you shouldn't listen to this lunatic at the Leafs desk here. I mean, you shouldn't take your milk advice from him. He might know what he's talking about with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'd be very suspect now after reading his take on milk. Maxime Bernier says, Pierre Poilievre spent the last 2 days dressing up like Justin Trudeau and pretending he cares about religions he doesn't believe in. I spent the last 2 days at a conference listening to experts discuss how to protect our fundamental rights and prevent the return of tyrannical COVID policies. What kind of leader do you want? And so, yeah, I've been highlighting this, and I think it's very funny that, I mean, good for Maxime Bernier for standing on his principles and being able to move in these circles and speak to people who are interested and actually connected to the issues of the day. You know what I mean? Like Robert Malone's talking about vaccine injuries, etc. And meanwhile, Pierre Poilievre is playing Mr. Dress Up, and he's going to different religious ceremonies and things like that. Is this how we want our prime ministers chosen? I'd rather have a prime minister who goes on Rogan. I'd rather have a prime minister who does big ass rallies and talks to the public rather than like does tiny little things in enclaves and tries to pander to religious groups, right? Like, we're all Canadians. Can we not be pandered to together? Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful